Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishna. Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Part 2 of Householder Disciples M. Mahendra Nath Gupta, who was a recorder of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We've seen how his early life was leading him to Sri Ramakrishna. It's not just a smooth path. There's no smooth path to God. You have to undergo great turbulence. So as he was growing, as you have seen that he got a job as a school teacher and he became later a headmaster. But we also see that he was part of a very large family. He had 11 brothers and sisters. And there were the family squabbles as always. And he was quite disturbed because he was by nature a quiet, poetic, temperamental person. And so by the time he met Sri Ramakrishna, he had 4 children, and then later on he had 3 more daughters. So he comes to Sri Ramakrishna when he was in that agitated state. And not only agitated, at one point of time, he became so distraught that he wanted to end his life. Now, as I was saying, he was very sensitive. His wife, knowing his state of mind, left one day along with him because he just walked out of his house. She came along and they decided first that they would go to M's sister's house, which was in Baranagar, very close to Dakshineshwar. So on the way, the wheel of the carriage broke down and they had to stop at a friend's house. It wasn't a pleasant encounter with his friend. And then they took another carriage, and by the time they reached the sister's place, it was midnight. So the next morning, he along with his nephew, Sidhu, they started taking a walk around the various gardens on the banks of the Ganges. And he was morose. So his nephew says, "Why don't we go to Dakshineshwar? There's a beautiful garden out there. And there's a holy man there." So that was interesting. So he came in, and the description is there in the Gospel. He felt as if where all the holy places had kind of converged. And all the sages were kind of speaking, as it were, these words of wisdom. And he was struck. He saw Sri Ramakrishna sitting in the room. And one of the first things he heard was, when hearing the name of God, once you shed tears and your hair stands on end, then you may know for certain that you do not have to perform any more karma. These are some of the signs which are called the 8 Sattvika bhavs. They are the signs of Sattva Guna. So one of them is, he mentions 2. You shed tears and your hair stands on end. Just hearing or repeating the name of God once, your mind becomes kind of uplifted. Then you don't need to bother about the various readings and puja, etc., etc., etc. Now this was very fascinating. And before you could sit down to listen to some more of Sri Ramakrishna's conversation, he thought, let me go around the temple complex. And he went to the various temples. And then by the time he returned, the door was closed. Sri Ramakrishna's room, of course. Why? It was evening, dusk rather. And a maid, Brinde, her job was to light lamps in Sri Ramakrishna's room and also to fill the room with incense smoke. The reason being, when it is evening, all the mosquitoes, they get inside. That is one of those things. And we used to see them evening and the kind of buzzing sounds coming around. So incense used to be lighted and kind of the place used to be filled with that incense and the door closed, doors and windows closed. And after some time, it used to be opened, and so those guys couldn't get inside, the small guys. So he saw the door closed and the maid servant, Brinde, was there. So he started conversing with her. Is the holy man in? The word is sadhu. He said, oh yes, he's in the room. Has he lived long here? Oh, he's been here for a very long time. In total, Sri Ramakrishna lived in Dakshineshwar for about 25 years, 24 years. First in another room, which was in, as they say, the owner's cottage. But because his nephew had died, Akshay, and he was not willing to live there in that old house anymore, he came to the present, the one which is now worshipped there. Then he said, does he read many books? Books? Oh no. They are all in his tongue. It's all memorized. And perhaps it's time for his evening worship. Maybe go into the room. Will you tell him that we are anxious to see him? When they go right in, children, go in and sit down. So it's amazing that he was, he brought up in those orthodox traditions, plus he had grown up as a city boy, and he was cautious not to kind of intrude on somebody's space or private time, etc. So both of them entered. Sri Ramakrishna looked at them, asked a few questions, and then as they were leaving, he said, come again. During the second visit, this was the first visit. The second visit, 2 days later, now when they came, Sri Ramakrishna, a barber was trimming his hair and beard, because Sri Ramakrishna's body was extremely soft. And we have seen you can say, reminiscences of those people there who were so soft like butter. And so couldn't use a razor. So the barber had to trim his beard and hair. So Sri Ramakrishna having one of those kind of sessions, hair cutting sessions. So Sri Ramakrishna, he saw, oh, you've come sit down. Now, he started speaking, Sri Ramakrishna started speaking about Keshav Chandra Sen, who was not well. For M, Keshav was a hero. I mean, he was everything that M kind of wanted to be. And he found a community also amongst the Brahmins. He had become a member of the Brahmo Samaj. And then as he was talking, then suddenly he says, you see, somebody had come the other day. The name is not specified, it's a Pratap's brother. He had come and he wanted to stay out here. And I heard that he is married and he's got children, and he has kept them at his father-in-law's house. And he said, I want to stay here. I scolded him. I told him, go out, get a job. Saying, you have a wife and children, you think the people of the neighborhood were going to support them? Or your father-in-law is going to support them? It's your job, get out. So he pushed this guy out. Now this was something that Sri Ramakrishna said this, I don't know how offhand, but it exactly gelled with his feelings that he wanted to leave his house, get rid of this, all the brothers and all the troubles and all these things. Keeping his children there, he has come with his wife here, and that kind of was a kind of a pushback for him. Then he said, are you married? Sorry. Saying, yes. Then he said, oh, Ramlal. Ramlal was Sri Ramakrishna's nephew. Oh, he's married. He thought, my God, is marriage bad? Then he's saying, do you have any children? Yes, sir, I have children. He's saying, oh, Ramlal, he has got even children. You're feeling so bad. And then he said, you see, you've got some nice signs. Auspicious signs. Not nice signs, auspicious. There are some auspicious signs. And that's why I asked. These auspicious signs they generally lead one to very high spirituality. And to have those signs and yet married and have children. So that's the reason why he's saying. These signs come after a few lifetimes of spiritual disciplines. Then Ramakrishna, tell me, what kind is your wife? Then is she Vidya Maya or Avidya Maya? The women are divided into two types. Vidya Maya is those who go towards God and lead their husbands also towards God. And there are others, Avidya, they go towards worldliness and their husband also towards worldliness. So those are the two aspects of the Divine Mother herself, don't worry. So M said, no, she's all right, a little ignorant. And Sri Ramakrishna with evident displeasure. And so you are a man of knowledge. You say, he was silenced. Now M was under the impression that, ignorance means his wife had not read many books and this and that, and reading many books and studying all these things means you are kind of learned. Later on, then he understood that knowing God and having the desire to know Him, that is knowledge. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, well, do you like God with form or without form? I think here comes, okay, believe God with form and without form? What is this? He says, how can one believe in God without form when one believes God with form? These things are contradictory. Can a white liquid be black? Then he says, so I like to think of God as formless. Sri Ramakrishna, very good. But remember, God without form is true and God with form is also true. Now again, he perked up his logic chopping, you can say, faculty. How can yea be nay and nay be yea? Aristotelian logic, all these kind of. So he says, but how is it possible to have both the aspects of God as true? One should be true. And then he says, Sri Ramakrishna says, oh, both are true and both people worship both aspects of God. Then he was trying to argue with Sri Ramakrishna, saying, suppose one believes God with form and he is not that clay image. The master, why clay image? It's an image of spirit. The word used is, he says, mrinmoyi, that is made of clay. M. And Sri Ramakrishna says, why mrinmoyi? Chinmoyi, a form of consciousness. That's why Swamiji in this Vespers hymn, he designates Sri Ramakrishna as Chid Ghanakai, that is a form made of consciousness. M couldn't understand what is this, image of consciousness. Then he's trying again to argue, one must be able to tell devotees, people who worship God with form, that the clay image is not God, and while worshipping it, they must think of the real God, not the clay image. Otherwise, you'll be worshipping a clay image, like idolatry. And Sri Ramakrishna says, that's one hobby of you Calcutta people, he's saying. Giving lectures and bringing light to others. Nobody ever stops to consider how to get light himself. Who are you to teach others? Then he said, Sri Ramakrishna, something profound. Even if there's a fault in the worship, don't you know that God is omniscient and he understands everything, and he understands worship? So it's worship anyway. He is worshipped. So he's saying, don't get a headache over all these things. You better try to get knowledge and devotion yourself. Now, all this while, his ego was being crushed one after another. So here it was completely crushed. Why is this important? First, in spiritual life, you go through a kind of upheaval. Nobody understands you. This is a kind of, and then all the troubles come. It seems like all the troubles kind of converge towards you. Once this is, if you can withstand and keep on still steady, then the next thing that has to happen is your ego has to be broken. You have to become submissive. That's the normal way of saying. But then all your conceptions of God, that is derived from your education or your culture, your language, anything, that has to go. You cannot have your fossified or fossilized or crystallized ideas of God, and you want to make God fit into those ideas. That can never happen. It has never happened in higher spirituality. Oh, God is this much, and let's fit God in that. And if God cannot fit inside, we can cut God and put him there inside. So these things, these false frameworks that we've had, those have to go. And the holder of these paradigms, various conceptions, depend on that ego, the self of I. So that is hit, everything crumbles. This is actually what happened with M. Now he was receptive to receive the true teachings. So after a few days, he comes again to Sri Ramakrishna. Now he's asking questions. So now, you see, he is really now a seeker. All those structures that he had imagined and he had conceived and he had learnt over the years, now they have been pushed away. And then, he asks the questions. That is 2 days after, 2 or 3 days after this first visit. Then there's a second visit. He said, how can we fix our mind on God? Here it is. So Sri Ramakrishna said, repeat God's name and sing glories, keep holy company, and now and then visit God's devotees and holy men. There. So this is short and sweet. But Sri Ramakrishna gives various illustrations to highlight this. They say to fix the mind on God is extremely difficult when you're in the midst of, you try to get into solitude and etc. So after giving him this instructions, that Sri Ramakrishna, he asks the second question. How ought we to live in this world? Now, it is like, after that first beating that, oh, you've got to live in that world, you have a wife and children. You cannot say, I don't want to. You have to live there. So he was careful to say, okay. So Sri Ramakrishna says, do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. Live with all, with wife and children, father, mother, and serve them. Treat them as if they are very dear to you. But know in your heart of hearts that they do not belong to you. Nobody ever belonged to nobody. We all belong to God. So this is how. Do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. So then he gives the example of a maid servant. In those days, they used to have their maid servant. They used to raise the children, do all the work in the home of the landlord, and spank the children, scold them, feed them, bathe them, etc. And yet knowing that these are not my children, my real children are there in that village from where I come. But she's doing all her work as if they are her children. So Sri Ramakrishna gives the various illustrations to, you can say, make this idea fixed in his mind. Then M asks, is it possible to see God? Yeah, everybody wants to. Yeah. Is it possible? I mean, possible for him, a person like him, householder. Those guys who have seen God and all, that's okay. They were free from everything. But I'm sunk in the midst of all this trouble. And what Sri Ramakrishna said? Yes, certainly. Now that is a great hope for everybody. Oh, we can see God. And Where do you see him? You can, and we will, as we go, we will understand where you're going to see him first and what this is for. Even he and she, etc., all these are kind of, again, the concepts. There is no he and she, etc. Then he says, living in solitude now and then, repeating God's name and singing glories and discerning between the real and the unreal, these are the means to employ to see God. So you can see God. What the means? Yeah, this is what it is. And then he said, under what conditions does one see God? There is a condition. Saying, weep for the Lord intensely, and you will see. People shed a whole jug of tears for wife and children. They swim in tears for money. But who weeps for God? Cry to him with a real cry. This is Sri Ramakrishna's answers to his questions. These are universal questions. It's there in every spiritual aspirant's heart. So this is one of the hallmarks in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Is this? God is the nearest of the near. All this time you've been thinking it's far, etc. It's near, part of you, part of your personality. He is the eternal subject. God has been brought close to us, and God realization itself. After he gives a few, again, illustrations to highlight this thing. Again, after 4 days, Sri Ramakrishna, he comes to visit Sri Ramakrishna the third time. And now, constantly he's been thinking of Sri Ramakrishna. So it was around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon he came. And Sri Ramakrishna says, God dwells in all beings. But you must be intimate with only good people. You must keep away from evil-minded. God is even in the tiger, but you cannot embrace a tiger on that account. So here Sri Ramakrishna is giving practical help. Oh, you've got that great ideal. Yes. But how to now manifest it? So this is what God dwells in all beings, yeah. So you don't have to hate anybody and all that kind of. But at the same time, keep your distance. Why? Because you know what happens? When you are in the midst of holy company, your mind dwells on holy thoughts, holy things. And when you're with company which is detrimental to your spiritual life, your mind sinks down. The nature of the mind, as Sri Ramakrishna says in another place, is to run down. By holy company, what happens is you raise it up. Why is this holy company, holy company? Yes, that is in Vedanta. Whether you study Vedanta, yoga, whatever philosophy, you cannot do it at home alone. Impossible. You will have to come for holy company. Yeah? Oh, yeah. Not only that, they say that even a moment of the holy company takes you across the ocean of Maya. So, it is necessary. So, here he is constantly encouraging M to say. A devotee then, during that third visit, a few devotees were there saying, Sir, if a wicked person is about to do harm or actually does so, should we keep quiet then? See, these are the things that happen out in this world. A person living in society should make a show of tamas to protect oneself from evil-minded people. That is, you don't have to be too soft. You'll be taken advantage of. You'll be exploited. You have to do that. But one should not harm anybody in anticipation of harm likely to be done to him. Then he gives the illustration of a snake, who was told by a brahmachari, hey, were you trying to frighten everybody and bite everybody? You should not do that. Take this mantra and now you repeat the mantra. And the snake started repeating the mantra and his mind had become so sattvic. And then the village boys saw that the snake is no longer a terror. So they caught him one day, caught his tail and whipped it around and smashed it on the ground. And the snake slowly kind of went into its burrow, hungry, almost killed. And after a few days, that brahmachari came along that same path. Then he asked the boys, hey, what happened to that snake? Oh, that terrible snake, we killed him. Killed him? What do you mean killed it? No. We swung it around and smashed it. Saying, no, I don't think it's good. So he went searching for he said, I have given that mantra and the snake cannot die. And this is another thing that is important to know. If you've received a mantra, your body will not die prematurely. The mantra will see that it comes to fruition. It will protect your body. You may undergo a little trouble here and there. But if that is, I hope you are doing your japa of the mantra. You're taking a mantra and I've been initiated. What are you doing about that? That's a different story. But if you have been repeating the mantra protects you. It will not let you die till it sees perfection, till it is awakened. So he went and saw that the snake weak because it hasn't been eating. Saying, what happened to you? Saying, no, nothing. I was just now doing japa and this and that. And yet had completely forgotten everything that had happened to this because his mind had become so sattvic. They're saying, think about it. Something must have happened. Oh, those boys, innocent, they had hit me. So you're a fool. I never told you not to hiss. I told you don't bite anybody. But you can hiss. You can frighten them. So in the midst of difficult people, evil people, you've got to hiss. You've got to show your fangs at times. But don't bite. That's Sri Ramakrishna's advice to everyone. So as he is sitting down listening to Sri Ramakrishna, now you can say he's feeling that he's come to the right place. Not the right place. Whatever the Sri Ramakrishna is saying is gelling again. The third time he saw Sri Ramakrishna getting into samadhi. This was something new to him. And Sri Ramakrishna, then later on, he used to constantly get into samadhi. Because conversing with somebody, or hearing something, or speaking of something, he used to go into samadhi. He observes, is it possible for a man to be so oblivious of the outer world in the consciousness of God? How deep his faith and devotion must be to bring about that state. And so here he gets that first glimpse of Sri Ramakrishna. The next time he came, I think it was his fourth visit. It was the next day. It was a holiday, and he never had to go to the school, so he came. It was a Monday. And then Sri Ramakrishna saw him and started laughing. And he said something. That time Bhavanath and Narendra, that is the future Swami Vivekananda, were there. And he started laughing, looking at him. I said, what happened? He said, no. One man, he gave opium to a peacock at 4 o'clock. The next day, the peacock returned at 4 o'clock. And he felt so embarrassed. But he said, actually, I'm like I want another kind of high. Because listening to Sri Ramakrishna and all that, he had gone into a kind of spiritual high. And he had come back for more. And it was here that Sri Ramakrishna introduced him to the future Swami Vivekananda. He says, I'm going to Calcutta. Sri Ramakrishna told him, you meet me there at Balram Bose's house. So he left, but then he returned saying, probably Balram Bose and all these people are rich people. They might not let me enter in their house. No. You come to that house and you tell them that you want to see me. They'll let you in. This also has got a meaning. That when you come to spirituality, you take Sri Ramakrishna's name and all doors will be open for you. This also has a meaning. And so, what door? The door to liberation. People want liberation. People want a vision of God. They want this and that. But if you want psychic powers and miraculous powers, you will not get it. You better go to someone else. With Sri Ramakrishna, you will not get it. If you want liberation, you come. So you come there, you take Sri Ramakrishna, they say, I want to meet Sri Ramakrishna. Okay, come in. He'll let you in. So all doors to higher spirituality, to liberation will be opened. So Sri Ramakrishna himself says that he is the door to the infinite. That is what you are. So as we have discussed it before in various classes, he stands on the threshold of what is called the finite and the infinite. So if you want to get into that infinite, there you will have to enter through this door. And he has given various examples. An avatar, what's an avatar like? It's like a hole in the wall. You come and you can see the other side. You can see huge kind of meadow. So avatars are like that kind of hole in the wall. You can see through the doorway. So we stop here for now. I think next Friday we take this, the third part. We also have Sunday, Sri Ramakrishna's unique worship of Sri Ramakrishna. Sunday at 10. Because there's very soon there's going to be something called a Kali Puja, a special Kali Puja called the Falaharini Kali Puja. That's a Kali Puja where Kali accepts all the results of your karma. And a unique spiritual world-shaking incident took place. I'll be speaking on that. Sri Ramakrishna's unique worship, the Shodashi Puja. Okay. We also have Ram Nam, Sunday. We've been speaking about also the PBS, you can see documentary of Swami Vivekananda. Go to the PBS website and download. And those who have received our newsletter, our email, weekly email, you'll find a link there. It'll be good. Okay. And Also, next Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have a retreat conducted by these two nuns from San Francisco. Thank you very much. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Okay. You'll have any questions here? Now we can, okay. We'll go on and on. Yeah.